Alright, hello everybody, this is Dine on Nikes, and this is the first part of a several part series on a video showing me playing through the Jurassic difficulty and Jurassic World Evolution Challenge mode. So it'll start up here in just a moment. Every time that I start a new game, I have a pretty good idea of what I want to do in terms of how I want to lay out the park. That just comes from having played on Isla Nublar several times. So I typically start and set up a little industrial park towards the center here. So the first thing I do is clear some of this water. Water's helpful, but only for dinosaurs. It kind of gets in the way and frustrates me when I'm trying to set up buildings. So generally my MO is to erase all of the water and then get started with the building. But here you see me going through. I notice that there is a picture finding contract and a island star rating contract. There is no way that I'm going to be able to complete those in the beginning, so I just cancel all of those. I go ahead and suffer the hit that on the finances to cancel it. And you see I get a mission for building a fossil center. I love it when this happens. I build an expedition center and a fossil center at the beginning of every single game, so when I get that mission, it's just free money. And now already within 10 seconds, canceling both of those first two missions has already paid off.
Contract just landed on my desk.
And I got another photograph contract. Sometimes these are easy, but at the very beginning, I don't have any dinosaurs. It's going to take a little while until I get, my Hammond lab set up and dinosaurs, genomes researched and incubated and all of that stuff. So I go ahead and delete that one as well. Build order in the beginning is pretty typical. Always start with the power plant. Power plants take the longest to get online, so that's usually what I start with. Then Expedition Center, and then Fossil Center, and then get my power going and my roads going. Once I have everything set up, usually Expedition Center finishes right before the power.
This looks like a good opportunity.
So here you see me waiting, and then the moment it's ready, I send it to Dinosaur Park Formation to research Struthiomimus genomes. Use some of my downtime to clear a little bit more water.
Contract is closed and the park is open for business. All's right with the prehistoric world.
And at the beginning, it's pretty much just contracts and
I can't order you to take this new contract.
canceling contracts like this one that come in.
It's that good.
And then getting ready to go on lots and lots and lots of expeditions. Expeditions don't make money at the beginning of the game. They actually slightly lose money.
May not be the easiest of contracts,
you gain a little bit when you sell dinosaur fossils, but the game will limit the number of fossils that you are able to sell before you complete, or in order to make sure that you have enough to complete the genome. So between the expedition costs, you just don't get quite enough minerals to make it worthwhile. You don't get to sell quite enough fossils to make it worthwhile, but of course you need the genome in order to make the dinosaurs. You need the dinosaurs in order to get people to the park, and that's how it'll all go from there.
I knew you were the person for the job, and as usual, I was right.
Here, this is a pretty unusual. This is because I have that contract to build and power fast food. I usually wait to do any type of facility buildings until I'm a little bit farther in, but easy fulfillment of a contract, might as well go ahead and do it.
Contracts help with research. Research is the foundation on which the Jurassic...
Anytime I get a mission like expedition for a carnivore fossil or obtain carnivore fossils, there I just completed 2 missions in one, and once you get enough of those, you can begin to really see the benefit that comes with canceling the unwanted. Imagine if I didn't cancel anything in the beginning, I would still have a photo contract uncompleted, and it would probably be hour and a half to 2 hours before I got to half a star dinosaurs, something like that.
I've reported your success up the chain of command.
All right, every single, again, everybody's going to have different different opinions on where to place parks, but where to place Hammond Labs and enclosures and all of that. I usually do this where the top right-hand corner of the map is where I put the first enclosure. It's a good place for some herbivores, and what it does is it keeps it up in the corner, gives a slightly less chance that a tornado will come through there if it starts somewhere else in the park. That's kind of one of the keys to avoiding tornadoes is, spread everything out as much as possible. And at the beginning, usually there is a little bit of this downtime here.
Looks like there's another contract.
Just sitting there waiting to get the contract to come in. The mechanics of these contracts, and here's another one that
I'm not telling you to take
I don't
this
think
next
that I like,
contract,
so
but only
I'm
a
going to
fool
terminate
would
that.
pass up this deal.
You got to wait for the characters to do their little voiceover, and once they do their voiceover, then their spiel's done, and you can get another one. But you got to kind of wait for them to finish talking before any new contracts are going to be offered. I typically try to operate on a priority system in terms of what I spend my time on, and getting keeping fossils going, keeping everything extracted. That's pretty important. See here, fossil extraction is very, very slow until you get extraction speed once you get to 1 star. So you'll see pretty regularly I will move stuff around. I'll cancel extractions, and that right there was getting my 3-star fossil done a little bit faster than the 2-star fossils, and trying to get up to over 50% genome for the Struthies, is where I can start to incubate that if I get a mission.
This new contract could prove valuable
Yeah, like
to the
there.
security division.
I will say that unless I get a contract to specifically expedite a fossil for a type of dinosaur, other than Struthiomimus, I almost always will kind of carry on through Struthies until I get to 75-80%, wherever that cutoff is for for Dino Park. Love to see that amber. So you see me kind of rearranging the priority of how I excavate, or not excavate, but how I extract fossils, or extract DNA from the fossils, I should say. And at the beginning, sometimes there's not very much to do. Notice that I have that 3rd fossil there. That's a 2-star fossil. In Jurassic, in challenge mode, I think it's all the difficulty levels, but at least Jurassic, you only get 2, 3, and 4-star. So 2-star is kind of the lowest quality. You do not need all the fossils that you can extract related to each individual species. What that means is that I will frequently sell 2-star fossels. Now, eventually you got to extract some of them. But if I run out of space, or if I have to prioritize something else, then I'll sell 2-star fossils. I've not actually done any math on if you can, if there's any scaling in terms of a 2-star fossil being, worth exactly half of a 4-star fossil, or anything like that. I'm not sure about that.
It's not really the truth either, but whatever. Don't look at this as extra work. Look at it as extra money.
All right, another fortunate contract. Although you will find that if you keep canceling the bad ones, you'll end up getting a lot of fortunate contracts. That's just the way that it goes, especially at the beginning. The beginning contracts, really up to 1 star, a lot of them are very easy to complete, or if not easy, there's something that you're going to be doing anyways. Now, this achieve facility rating, that's a little bit of a harder contract, but 1.0 facility rating, once you have dinosaurs, is not very tough to do. And so right here, I figured I'll probably get enough dinosaurs out to get enough people in the park to get a rating. And then at that point, all you need is that fast food shop that I've got right there.
New dinosaurs are what feed our attractions. That and goats. Lots and lots of goats.
Pretty much every pen that I ever build, I put in two different ponds.
This latest contract
And what
is a
that
little
does is it
unexpected,
gives all of the
but I'm
dinosaurs
sure
two
you'll
different
rise
places
to
to
the
drink. You'll notice later on in this particular game, there are several times the dinosaurs go hungry or go thirsty. And it's usually not for a lack of food or a lack of water. Usually the only time that happens is when there's carnivores around, and it's Ceratosaurus is chasing velociraptors and that type of thing.
Dr. Dewar here with another contract for you to look over.
But having two watering holes is a pretty easy thing to do. Doesn't really cost very much extra money, and as long as you put it out of the way of your jeeps to where it won't slow you down if you got to chase dinosaurs around getting trank or dart guns to heal them, then you're pretty good. I think at this point I was hoping that one dinosaur would bring enough people in for the facility rating, but I decided I didn't want to spend very much more time.
When I was
I'm
younger,
pretty aggressive
I
at the
prayed
beginning
for
to get rid of
opportunities
bad
like the one that
contracts,
just
and
crossed
of
my
course I
desk.
immediately get a replacement contract to release 2 Struthiomimuses, which is something that I would probably do anyway, so I figure that's a good trade-off.
To understand how they think.
You'll notice that I tend to favor contracts in the beginning that have to do with genomes, that have to do with expeditions, that have to do with releasing dinosaurs. Although if I were to get release 2 Ceratosaurus, that would be pretty frustrating. As much as I would love to be able to do that, each Ceratosaurus costs something like $650,000, and I just don't have that 1.3 million dollars plus the cost of setting up an extra pen. So that sometimes can leave you in a little bit of a hard place in the beginning, but you can kind of just see my cash management here. I'm staying pretty well above $1 million at a time, and that should give me enough to weather even that kind of bad contract. Every single game has a run of bad contracts. Every single game has a run of good contracts. It's just a matter of planning and making sure that you get the resources that you need kind of set up and in place to handle that.
As a sign of how confident they are in your continued success.
All right, this is kind of a decision point because I've got the very first, the Dinosaur Park, all of the fossils that I can excavated from there. So I'm at something like 70-80% genome for the Struthiomimus. And my question is, do I go to that second location where I could start getting Triceratops and Edmontosaurus, or do I go for a different dinosaur? And the Huayangosaurus, way over in China, is the second most cost-efficient dinosaur at the beginning of the game, so that's the one that I go for. It also has the advantage that one site gives me 100% genome, which no other dinosaur has that advantage in the beginning. At least none of the original 5. Your choices are Struthiomimus, Edmontosaurus, Triceratops, Huayangosaurus, and Ceratosaurus. Of those, Struthiomimus is it's a little over $3,000 is what you pay per dinosaur rating point, and that's by far the best value in the game. But then the Huayangosaurus is the second best at the beginning. Triceratops is the third, and then the Edmontosaurus is just ridiculously expensive for what you get. It's a cool dinosaur, but it's like $7,500 or something like that per rating point. So you could basically get two Struthiomimus points for the price of one Edmontosaurus point. And it's a good dinosaur in the sense that it doesn't ever get angry, but other than that, it's not worth building more than 1 or 2 of them just to get the variety bonus down. You'll find that out a little bit more as we go, but variety bonus scales, it starts at 60%. So right off the bat, the first Struthiomimus is worth I think it's worth 6 points plus up to 3 points more for authenticity, and you lose 60% of that total. So the first Struthiomimus is worth only like 4 points or something ridiculous like that. With every species that you add, the percentage loss for variety goes down. So once you have a second species, you're only losing 55%. Once you get to 3 species, you're only losing 50%. Then it goes from there, and you got to have 25 total species in order to get rid of the variety bonus. That just is impossible to make happen until you get at least to 3 stars, I think. And really, you want to be a little bit more choosy. I typically have a variety penalty pretty heavy up until the very final moments of the game when I release a whole bunch of dinosaurs. So here I got a contract to build a research center, and I love that contract because I typically don't build a research center until I get it. But this gives me a chance, because my cash flow is pretty good, it gives me a chance to go ahead and do some early research and get the aggressive instincts, get some of the the dinosaur disease cures researched and all of that type of thing.
I've heard good things about the expedition.
But at the beginning of the game, it's all about doing expeditions, extracting fossils. You'll notice I get backlogged on extraction. That's just because you can go on expeditions a lot faster than you can extract at the beginning. So I end up selling judiciously as I need to. And again, I typically avoid researching the Ceratosaurus, which is a gorgeous dinosaur, but I typically avoid researching that until a little bit later, unless I need to. But anytime I get a mission, I'm happy to see it. Or I should say, anytime I get a contract, I'm happy to see it.
Anytime.
Alright, so I start with the aggressive instincts. Those of you who might have read my very first Reddit post on strategies and tips for Jurassic difficulty, I came out pretty strong against modifications. And the reason for that is because, by and large, modifications, they increase your dinosaur's rating, yes, but they increase the price more. So it's a losing ratio. You're better off doing 2 dinosaurs for the same rating. It's cheaper to do 2 separate dinosaurs than it is to have 1 dinosaur and then a whole bunch of modifications to double the value. There's one big exception to that. There's actually a few exceptions, but the one big one, the only one you'll see me using in this game, I believe, is Aggressive Instincts 1.0. What that does is it adds 10% to the dinosaur's rating, but it only adds 8% to the dinosaur's cost. And I do have a website that I'm working on. I've got a table that lists all of the other different options, and goes through the math and shows just why they're not a good idea. But I've got my nice little industrial park set up. There are no tornadoes at the beginning of the game. Tornadoes only come in once you get to 1 star or higher. And once you turn them on, you can't turn them off. So you can't go above 1, research something, and drop back below 1 and avoid tornadoes. They are there to stay for the rest of the game, unfortunately. But if a tornado were to come through at this moment, it would only hurt either my industrial park or my enclosures at the top northeast area, most likely. It's starting to get up there in terms of Struthiomimuses. And once I get the first Struthiomimus, that's usually, not always, but usually that's the only dinosaur that I incubate regularly at less than 100% genome.
Look at your priorities.
There's got to be a good reason for me to break that rule. Otherwise, you're just throwing away authenticity points. I think I mentioned earlier, Struthiomimus is worth 6 dinosaur rating points, plus up to 3 for authenticity. So if you got 100% genome, you got the 3 extra bonus points. If I were to breed a whole bunch of Struthiomimus without any, just a 50% genome, then I'm throwing away 1/3 of their value. And on Jurassic difficulty, you don't have enough money to do that pretty regularly. You can do it every once in a while. Every single one of these Struthiomimus is less than 100%, but If you actually look at the rating, it shows 9, so I'm close enough to 100% to where I'm getting the full thing. The higher, I believe the higher value dinosaurs have a little bit more gradient where you got to get to 100% to get every last point. Struthiomimus, the math just works out in your favor a little bit.
I know you're incubating new dinosaurs.
But here you see I do have a new mission for successfully incubating the Huayangosaurus. I'm not at 100% genome, so I believe, if I remember correctly, I was wait to incubate those two. Alright, there's not a ton that you really need to research at the beginning. There's a handful of buildings, there's a handful of fossils, there's the one modification, genetic modification. Draco Rex is a really good dinosaur, very cost efficient. You can take 8 of them. You can mod them with aggressive instincts 2 or 3 times, I forget which. Put 8 of them in a pen together. They live happy, and they're nice points. All right, here you see I'm starting to get a little bit backlogged in terms of my fossils. Continue to prioritize the 2-star or the 3 and 4-star fossils. And even though I'm trying to extract Huayangosaurus genome, I've got a lot of those 2-stars, so I go ahead and just sell a couple of them.
I'm not asking out of loyalty.
Now I've got 2 Huayangosaurus missions. Whenever I can get those to double up, that's always really nice. But it does put me in a little bit of a place where I've got to wait on getting the completed genome. So here you see you got a 3-star. I'm going to cancel the 2-star. Go ahead and get the other dig team out. Sell the rest of everything.
The science division is a little stronger because of you. A little.
You've done good work in the past. That's why I know you are.
Alright, photograph 2 Ceratosaurus. I'm not going to have those for a long time. Hate to see the $112,000 go, but roll the dice again, and income per minute $2,500. That's ridiculous. There's no way I'm going to get there for a long time. Well, maybe not a long time, but it'll be 20-30 minutes at least. So, alright, here we go. This is one that I can do. Emergency shelters at the beginning. You get this mission quite a bit. Sometimes it looks like this, where you have build, connect, and power. Other times it looks like increase coverage to X%. A lot of the time what I like to do is use these as just minor money makers. I build the thing, I complete the mission, and then I scrap the thing immediately, and then I can get the mission again at a later time. And again, there's no storms until you get to 1 star, so there's no reason to have an emergency shelter until you get to 1 star. So instead of having it sit around, I think this time I decided to go ahead and scrap it. But we will see. All of these food stores, there's nobody there right now. But once the park gets populated enough, typically my strategy, there's the gyrosphere that holds up to 800 people or something like that, and that's I usually set that at $35. The fast food, the gift shop, the toy shop, a couple of maybe 1 or 2 others, they max out at 900 people. I set those at $40. And then the main ones, the restaurant, the clothes shop, the arcade, I set those at $50 per pop. And that, for whatever reason, that seems to be a consistent inflection point. Yeah, it'd be a little bit nice if the game was more complicated and you could micromanage that and tweak that and your income would go up and down, but I think it's just kind of a set and forget, which works to your advantage in a Jurassic difficulty challenge mode type of scenario. Alright, finally got some 3-star. I think at this point I'm wondering what do I got to do to get an amber for the Huayangosaurus, because I'm sitting on those 2 contracts just waiting to get everything done. Trying to get to 100% or close to it in order to release those dinosaurs. And some more 3-star. I mean, I will always take 3-star. At that point, the reason why I sold that is once you once you have everything queued up and it's going to end up adding up to 100% genome, there is no longer the option to extract. And then you can go ahead and sell. It will give you the warning message, but you can go ahead and sell and you'll be fine. These three-star fossils is going to get me to 100% genome. I will say that you know, you can inadvertently oversell. If you've got more than 6 fossils in the queue, you are not allowed to add any other fossils to the queue. So be careful if you got a full reservoir of fossils ready to be extracted, that you don't accidentally sell something important because it was going to be the 7th in line. But I try to keep my fossils managed a little bit. Again, once you get to 1 star, then you got some upgrades that open up, and you know, then you're pretty good from there. I've been holding on to this 3-star Ceratosaurus. It's a good fossil. I want to extract it. I don't want to sell it, but at the same time, I just, you know, I don't have enough capacity to get through all of the fossils that I do have. So I prioritize other stuff. I know I'm not going to release a Ceratosaurus for a long time. They're pretty expensive, you know. With the money that I've got right now, I'm doing pretty well for it to be less than 1 star, but there's just no way I'd be able to afford, you know, more than 1 Ceratosaurus. And really where the efficiency of those guys comes in is when you've got 3 of them per cage and you pair them with a small carnivore. So I think later you see 3 Ceratosaurus with 6 Velociraptor. That's nice. The raptors are mean guys. They will just run around and try to escape as much as they can whenever they have the first opportunity. Ceratosaurus kind of boss them around a little bit, which is fun to watch. So you'll look over in the pen and you'll see, you know, 3 of the 6 raptors panicking, and then the other 3 of the 6 panicking. And even if they start attacking a fence, I think that happens at one point. They attack it once, and then the Ceratosaurus comes over and they start panicking and they run away. And Dilophosaurs are the same way. Always preferred, you know, like everybody who likes, you know, Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, always loved the Velociraptors. And Dilophosaurus is a cool animal, but I certainly enjoy the Velociraptor more. But when it comes to Jurassic mode, there is just no better dinosaur in terms of cost efficiency than the Dilophosaurus. You can scale those. You can put 12 per pen. They're high value. They're high efficiency. They're pretty low management. Like I said, put some larger carnivores in there, and they just kind of take care of themselves. You saw right there, I just decided to research success rate. Some people are okay with a little bit of risk when it comes to, you know, doing 1 or 2 mods, and I've heard other people say that as long as you're above 90%, you're pretty safe, and I just disagree with that. I've had dinosaurs fail when I've got 98, 99%. It was 2-3 games ago. I had one. I went back and double checked, and yes, it was 99%, and it failed. And that's statistics. It's going to fail 1 out of every 100 times. So, you know, I take a couple of risks in the beginning, but once I can get the success rate on there,
You did good work out there.
you know, I typically am content to keep it within the success rate barrier or boundary.
That contract is done.
So I think each aggressive instincts is worth minus 6% viability. So what that means is you can do 3 mods and have either 2 success rate 1.0 or 1 success rate 2.0, and that's 20% total. And then you're safe there. Or you can do 2 of the aggressive instincts and 1, you know, skin color change for a 25% rating bump, and you know, that's also a pretty good value. You know, the cost goes up 25% as well, but you do have other. You still are efficient in terms of, you know, Hammond lab capacity and dinosaur pen capacity and stuff like that.
This contract has just come in. I'm giving you first shot at it.
Can't tell you how many times I end up misclicking on the contract offerings when they come through. Surprisingly common. I just start clicking somewhere else. Anytime you're in this management window,
like it.
any of the management windows, you can have a contract offer pop up
And it
immediately.
fits the bill.
If you're doing something like with a fence or with trees or something like that, then you don't have the contracts pop up. But I always feel like I should be more careful, but I get in such a rush. This is pretty typical strategy for me. I create the pin. Those gates are surprisingly expensive. They're about $80,000 a pop, something like that. So I usually wait to build a gate until a little bit later. I don't always. This game, I'm pretty consistently above $1 million. I don't always end up doing that. It just kind of varies from game to game. But in the beginning, I try not to spend money if I don't need to. But I also try not to hoard money either. So it's always a balance. It's a balancing act, trying to figure out, should I research this now? Should I not research this? Should I wait? You notice I still do not have a ranger station. I do not have an ACU. During 1 star, you don't really have any sickness.
Wouldn't you?
You might have it once in a while, but either it's none or very low chance. And of course, none of the dinosaurs are going to be prone to breakout. You don't have any type of tornado or anything like that. So you're pretty safe without a ranger station, without an ACU. Now, a lot of the time, you do get contract after contract after contract asking you to take photos. That's when it's nice to have a ranger station.
Of course you would.
This game just did not play out like that. Typically, if I start getting a lot of those, then I will build a ranger station, and I'll look at the photo contracts as just kind of my way of subsidizing that.
You have my thanks.
So even though I don't technically need it until I get close to 1 star, yeah, that's pretty typical strategy. Should say, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, down here at the bottom, you see the 5-star rating. That is a park rating. The park rating is a combination. It's not an average. It's some other type of math combination of the dinosaur rating and the facility rating.
Why would you?
Facility rating is pretty easy to get to and maintain. You just got to have enough food, drink, shopping, and fun for everybody. You don't need any dinosaur visibility. You don't need any transport rating. Your people do have to feel safe, but they don't have to have a set number of shelters or anything like that. The dinosaur rating is harder. In order to get to 5 stars, you got to have 10,000 dinosaur rating.
Answer.
That's a lot of dinosaurs. If you don't have any variety bonus, then that is, that's 100 dinosaurs with an average of 100 rating. So that is quite a bit, and the variety penalty just kills you at the beginning. You're still losing 30-40% of every single dinosaur rating that you incubate. Up through 2/3 of the game or something like that.
We don't always get offers like this.
Yeah, and this contract increased dinosaur rating to 1.0. That's not park rating. That's dinosaur rating. Dinosaur rating to 1.0 is 2,500 rating points. You're looking at a 30-40% loss for dinosaur variants. So that's a de facto rating of 5,500 or something like that, or 4,500, something like that, and that's just not worthwhile. So I cancel that contract pretty quick.
There's a new contract that I want you to consider.
All right, viewing galleries I do not typically use. They don't really buy you anything. And I don't even research the viewing tower. But even the galleries, they don't serve any purpose. They don't bring in money. They don't bring in guests. They help focus guests. The guests go to where the viewing towers are. But because hotels now have viewing capability, they serve as as kind of hot spots for people, and that's good enough. So I think what I do is I build the gallery and then I immediately turn around and destroy it. Or actually, I think I might end up keeping this one just because. these profit from attraction contracts, those accumulate over time. You never will fail that contract. It'll just take different amounts of time for you to finish it. And it's always a little bit of, kind of some extrapolation to try to figure out exactly how long it's going to take. And, do I want to spend that time or do I want to cancel it and move on to something else? It just kind of varies. Sometimes you cancel it. I think this time I decided to hold on to it. That hotel really ended up eating into my budget between that and the Huayangosauruses. So I'm starting to hit a little bit of a cash flow hiccup. But the good news is it got more people in the park. My park income is up a little bit, so that helps. And of course, the name of the game is to get to the rating. In order to get to the rating, you got to have the dinosaurs. You got to spend money to get the dinosaurs. And generally, the faster that you can get to 2 stars, the better off you are. And that's because at 2 stars, you get the dig yield improvement.
That's a valuable skill.
You can research that. It takes 5 minutes to research. Then you add it to your expedition center, and all of a sudden, your expeditions that you pretty much got to do nonstop anyways go from a small net loss to a pretty sizable net benefit. At the end of the game, it's not atypical for me to be pulling $700,000 to $1 million profit for every series of runs that I do. And at that point, you've got 3 teams, and you're sitting them out constantly.
Now, this contract is something special, and I know just the person for the job. Can you guess who I'm thinking about?
So here you notice that I've got this 2-star Triceratops. I've got nothing else going, so you might be wondering, why am I not extracting that fossil? The reason for that is because my Triceratops genome is at 56%. There are 4 different increased genome to X% contracts that you can get. One of them is increased to 50%, one is to 90%, one is to 100%, and the other one is to 60%. So what I will do, if I know I don't need any Triceratops anytime soon, or I don't need any Edmontosaurus or Ceratosaurus, I will sit on the fossil until I get that contract extract to X%.
This new contract was made.
And I think it actually works out in my favor a little bit later. One other thing that I end up running into quite a bit is lack of power at the beginning, especially once I start getting some facility, some entertainment type of things going. And if I'm not actively incubating, I use my Hammond lab as an optional power source. So, or not power source, but I limit the amount of power that it pulls, and I will deactivate that in order to let the other buildings do their thing. The alternative is I either stop expeditions or fossil extraction, which of course is the last thing I want. I don't really want to stop my research. If I deactivate the hotel, then what I end up doing is limit the number of people who can come into the park. If I deactivate either of the other buildings, the fast food or the gift shop, then what that ends up doing is I end up losing income from those. And there you see, the moment that I build the shelter, I don't need it yet, so I just demolish it again. It's not a huge increase, but I think it's like $25,000-$30,000 gain from completing the contract, something like that. here I needed some more dinos, so I had to
Well done.
reactivate, and you'll see at the top there I've got one of my buildings is kind of out.
I like this contract. You should too.
I like the incubate and hatch X number of dinosaurs contracts a lot, but once you get up to 4 or 5, I've seen 7 new dinosaurs before, and that's a little ridiculous. Especially at the beginning, it's hard to knock that out. But it's still overall it's not a bad contract, so I decided to keep it. Notice I think I got the same exact mission, the increased shelter coverage to 10%. So it's nice, easy money. I think I don't remember if I destroyed this one or if I let it continue, because I'm starting to get a little close to 1 star. And it's pretty much every time you get to 1 star and then boom, you got a storm almost immediately, and half the time it's a tornado and it just tears you up. That's the way that it goes. So I think around this point I start to decide that I've got to get my ranger station and ACU online. Of course, I recorded this several days ago and don't remember exactly what happened. I'm narrating as I watch it again along with you, the viewer.
You've done well with this latest contract. This may be our finest research to date, and given where we are and what we do...
And as soon as I release the Huayangosaurus, I deactivate the Hammond Lab again, turn my fast food back on.
That some of our animals, mostly the predators, are
so here I'm looking at the facility rating to see if there's any way that I can get that bumped up a little bit. One of my favorite strategies is I can decrease prices temporarily, and what that does is it allows me to just kind of get a nice little fast bump on the rating, get over a threshold, and then raise prices again until I get close to another threshold.
Contracts. Who has a new contract? This guy.
All right. Well, the incubate 3 Triceratops dovetails very nicely with the fact that I need to release 3 more dinosaurs. But I'm only at 56% genome for the Triceratops. I want to be able to get a lot higher than that. So, although because they do kind of work together pretty well, I do end up holding on to both of those.
There's an opportunity that you have to
Another
see.
dinosaur rating. You get those all the time. Just get rid of them immediately. I know it's $75,000 that you got to pay, but it's like playing poker. You got to put the chips in regardless. You lose one, you got to put them in again the next hand. I mean, that's just the way that it goes. I do think my favorite contracts are either the complete expeditions or the bring back fossils. They're just that's stuff that I'm going to do anyway, so it's just free money. Both of these dinosaurs, the Crichtonsaurus and the Sinoceratops, are pretty strong value. Any type of ceratopsid or ceratopsian, I don't know the right term, or ankylosaurid, which would be the Crichtonsaurus, Ankylosaurus, also the Nodosaurus or Nodosaurus, the Sauropelta. There's one more. All of those, along with the Stegosaurids, the Huayangosaurus, Chunkingosaurus, all of those have at least defense slots, if not attack and defense slots. The aggressive instincts upgrade can work in attack or defense slots, so that's what makes those pretty valuable. And then the Pachycephalosaurids, like Draco Rex and later Pachycephalosaurus and Stygimoloch, they all have attack and defense as well, even though they, as far as I know, cannot get into fights. They're the one exception, the one type of, or one classification of dinosaur that cannot get into fights but still has attack and defense rating.
For both of us.
And they're good value as well. That that aggressive instincts modification really does help.
Sometimes
It's only a small difference, but small things add up a lot over time. You're talking about 100 dinosaurs. You know, that 10% bonus to 8% cost, that's going to be worth it. And I finally do get my ranger station going. This is pretty typical placement. I put my ranger station where it's going to benefit me for the majority of the game. I always start with the dinosaurs in the top right hand corner, so that's where the ranger station, that's where the ACU is. Even though you'll see as we go along I end up with dinosaurs kind of all over the rest of the park. Some people feel like they need more than one ranger station to keep everything under control. There are times where it's really nice to have more than one. But for me, I'm also pretty content just with the one, and I send that one all over the park. Now I do add multiple ranger units, you know, as needed. I end up getting 3 by the end of this game. Of course, I don't have power for it, but that's the nice thing about the ranger and the ACU is that you don't technically need power. You only need power if you're going to automate. I am a notoriously bad driver. If this game was about driving these Jeeps, then I would fail every single time.
Receiving initial storm warning.
I figure I might as well earn a little bit of extra money taking some photographs.
That's a keeper.
Finally starting to get the Triceratops fossils that I need. Get to 100%, get some trikes released. Note that there have been a couple of times I have not done the best job at keeping my my fossil extraction going. That's really my my big hang up at the beginning. That's the big constraint, is what's your throughput on getting fossils extracted. So, you know, to let those pause several times was not good play on my part. Alright, time to get some Triceratops. 94%. It's 1 point short. Triceratops is a 26-point dinosaur. You get a up to 13-point bonus. Right now it's worth 38, and then I add the 10% for for the aggressive instincts, and that ends up being worth it. I think that ends up being enough to bump me over 1 star too. So pretty pretty slim in terms of there's not a lot of buildings, but you got the dinosaurs that you need to get the job done. And it was right around 45 minutes to get to my first store. Yeah, 45 minutes right here. So that's not a bad time. I've certainly made it to 1 star faster, but sometimes you get to 1 star and you don't have very much money, and then stuff slows down, and you still got to wait 5 minutes plus for the
Nice work on that expedition
the
contract.
research, the dig yield to come
Hopefully
out,
what you brought back doesn't end
and
up
to
as
get that
another thorn in
activated.
our side.
So it's not always the time to 1-star that's the most important, but it is a pretty important
You and I
component.
make a great team. I present the contracts, you complete them, everybody wins. So how about we rack up another win, huh?
So I deactivated the hotel to see if I could increase the profit per minute. But I might have, yeah, I think I went too far. I think what that ended up doing is it restricted the number of people that could be in the park. So I figure, well, I got to get that up. And I also got to get my facility rating up to get over 1 star. So I think between releasing the Triceratops, the turning the hotel back on, having the fast food and the gift shop, have all of that kind of, set, that's that gets me over the threshold.
By getting our finances on track, you've opened up a world of opportunities for the science division. For that, you have my thanks.
So I go ahead and release the Triceratops and then build the pen, and
I see you hatched Triceratops.
well, just like we crossed the 1-star threshold, so that means this video is coming to a close. But be sure to join me. I did record this whole playthrough and ended up, my final time was pretty solid. It was 4 hours and 47 minutes, which is, at least at present, is my record. So that's it for now. Thank you.